On June 7, 1990, Universal Studios opened and included rides like E.T. and Jaws to capitalize on the popular film series. Universal did this almost specifically to capitalize on MCM, which was Disney's attempt at opening up an amusement park that was also a film studio. Nickelodeon was also interested in doing this, however did not have the funds back in the early 90s to accomplish such a feat, so they decided to license out part of Universal Studios when it opened for Nickelodeon Studios. On April 30th, 1992, Nickelodeon held a time capsule burial service. This was done to commemorate the studio's opening, as well as show off to the public that a full production could be done there. I mean, look at the amount of people that showed up to just the time capsule burial. The time capsule itself consisted of having skateboards, photos of trains, all sorts of music, movies, and video games to show off what the early 90s encapsulated. And this time capsule was set to never move until it was opened in 2042.
But our contents, the contents of this time capsule right here will remain untouched until April 30th, 2042.
2042.
This is Mike O'Malley
And Joey Lawrence.
reporting live from Nickelodeon Studios in Florida.
Unfortunately, that day would never come. You see, Nickelodeon Studios was having some trouble with its filming. Now, don't get me wrong, they produced quite a few shows, which we'll get back to. However, the combination of the background music in the selected areas of Universal, as well as people screaming on rides and the rides itself, made production very, very difficult. Now let's get onto the list of shows that they made here. This is quite a lengthy list, so just hang in there with me. They made All That, Clarissa Explains It All, 15, Hi Honey, I'm Home, Keenan and Kel, My Brother and Me, No One Knows Best, Roundhouse, Tanya, Teacher to Teacher with Mr. Wizard, The Mystery Files of Shelby Woo, Wienerville, Welcome Freshman, Double Dare 2000, Family Double Dare, Super Sloppy Double Dare, Super Sloppy Double Dare again, Figure It Out, Game Farm, Get the Picture, Legends of the Hidden Temple, Make the Grade, Nickelodeon Arcade, Nickelodeon Guts, Nickelodeon Splat, Outta Here, Global Guts, Slam Time Live, Think Fast, What Would You Do, Wild and Crazy Kids, You're On, Eureka's Castle, Allegra's Window, Gula Gula Island, and Binya Binya, I think. Now, for those that are too young to have watched any of these shows when they first came out, I definitely recommend looking some of them up on YouTube, more specifically Legends of the Hidden Temple, Double Dare, and Guts. Those were the best. Unfortunately, the success of all these shows didn't carry well into the early 2000s. As a matter of fact, by 2001, they were only down to a double-digit number of employees there. Hell, by 2004, it seemed like there was a single number of employees there. Isn't that ridiculous? For one whole production studio, there was less than 10 people. Now, unfortunately, on April 30th, 2005, which was the exact same date that the park opened so many years earlier, it was closed, and the studio was left to rot. Well, sort of. Don't get me wrong, I'm super bummed that Nickelodeon Studios isn't a thing anymore. However, it's not completely rotting. As a matter of fact, after Nickelodeon stopped paying the deposit on it, Universal Studios took it over as their own and decided to hire the Blue Man Group to perform there weekly. As a matter of fact, in 2013, I went and saw the Blue Man Group live. It was so disappointing, and it doesn't even hold a candle up to anything that Nickelodeon ever made, ever. Now, Nickelodeon Studios is sort of a strange case because it affected a lot of people's childhoods when it closed, including my own. I mean, I watched a lot of the shows that I listed earlier. So what exactly happened to it? Out of morbid curiosity, I looked it up one day, and it turns out that there's tons of people on the internet that are also into this. There's a guy named Adam the Woo, who I featured earlier on my River Country video, who was one of the first ones to break in after the studio closed. I'll play some of his footage now. Back then, the interior of the studio was still in pretty good shape, and not much was changed aside from the main stage where they performed Blue Man Group. The rest of it was pretty much left as is, as pretty much Nickelodeon Studios. The next person that went to the studio that I knew of was, well, me, actually. I went in 2013, as I said earlier. Now, after Adam the Woo posted his video, I think Universal saw it and was starting to remove some of the stuff from the inside, because I've heard rumors that some of the murals were taken down. However, here is an actual video clip from my trip where I walk up the stairs and film inside of the windows, and boom, there are the Wild Thornberry murals. Kind of hard to see because I was trying not to get caught and kicked out of the park, but still, they existed back then. Now, after this trip, it sparked so much interest in me and sparked so much inspiration to look up what happened to the studios. And upon doing research, it's where I ran into one of my best internet friends, Ed of the Adventure Brothers, who you've been seeing footage from sporadically throughout this video. He's as obsessed with this as I am, and he brought up a pretty good point. What the hell happened to Olmec? Or even the slime guys, or hell, any of the props. Upon looking through the studios nowadays, it's completely desolate. And as of 2015, they have unfortunately removed the murals that I filmed earlier. It's clear that Universal has been taking note of all the videos of people filming the location and breaking in, and just clearly trying to get rid of all the evidence of it ever being Nickelodeon Studios. They even removed the time capsule and put it in front of their hotel, which is being removed again and is probably going to put somewhere in California. Now, as of this recording right now in 2016, from the photos I've seen, there is very, very little of Nickelodeon Studios left. And still no one's found Olmec. It's rumored that he's in the storage units behind the Mummy ride. However, since I haven't personally been to Universal since my last time I went and recorded this in 2013, I cannot confirm. The next time I go, I'll definitely poke around, though. I mean, I will definitely not obstruct and trespass. Sorry. All hope from the future isn't completely lost, though, because a couple of the shows have been regaining interest, as there are actually live events of Double Dare that go on at the Nickelodeon Hotel, and Legends of the Hidden Temple is getting a TV movie. So perhaps if these all spark interest, Nickelodeon will rebuy the property, unleash the Aggro Crag in its full glory, and reopen the studios. However, I highly doubt that would ever happen. Nickelodeon is still part of Universal, they just don't want to pay for the studios if it's just not being used. And unfortunately, the studios have gotten so bad to the point where it doesn't even resemble Nickelodeon anymore, unless you look at a really weird angle and you can still see some splat marks. The only thing that they definitely will never change is if you walk in the bathrooms, you'll see tile floor with splat on them. And tile is very, very expensive and time-consuming to change, so I cannot see Nickelodeon ever changing that. So while the future may or may not be brighter, unfortunately, as of right now, it's just one more location that's going to be left to rot.